Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth, and alongside of me tonight, or across up in North Carolina, is Rick Curti. Good evening, Rick. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Scott, how are you?
All right. Well, we get to fly solo. Who knows? We might be doing more of these solo broadcasts. I have no problem whether you're on with myself or somebody else. The main objective is make sure we educate and inform, and that's exactly what we're going to do tonight, right, Rick?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, let's focus on the business at hand. Los Angeles Dodgers winning the World Series. Clayton Kershaw and Dave Roberts' legacies are cemented, and no, there won't be any Mike Scioscia sightings out in Los Angeles.
No more Mike Scioscia. Man, maybe one day he'll go there, but not right now. Dave Roberts finally got that monkey off his back. Kershaw got that monkey off his back all the years that he was shorthanded, and and he really redeemed himself. It was a great series. And I'm very happy for the Dodgers. They haven't won it in so long. I remember when they last won it, when Kirk Gibson pumping his fist, hitting that home run off of Dennis Eckersley against the A's, who people thought were the best team at that time, and the Dodgers took care of it, and they did a great job against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's a great team, but congrats to the Dodgers and to the Lakers for bringing championships to Los Angeles.
Yeah, that series you're alluding to, the Oakland A's were heavy favorites. They had Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco and Dennis Eckersley. So that team was very, very loaded, Rick.
Oh man, Eckersley was like lights out. I mean, he every time he took the mound, he was like Mariano Rivera. I mean, it was like automatic that he was gonna shut it down. I mean, I remember times where he threw like 10 pitches and the game was over. The man was at that time the best reliever, and when it went into the ninth inning, it was like it's over. I mean, game over, and he gave up that home run to Kirk Gibson, and it was like, oh my gosh! So it kind of brought the momentum to the Dodgers winning everything at that time.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that series while we have a moment, okay? Do you think that Kevin Cash overmanaged and overthought his hand with the premature removal of Blake Snell?
Yeah, I think he made a mistake. I mean, he did that the other time in the playoffs, and he got lucky. They got away with it. Now this is the second time they did it, and you can see Blake Snell's reaction when he came out. He was like, "Oh, come on, man, don't take me out." So I think he made a mistake there, and I think it kind of like brought momentum because they weren't doing nothing off of him. He was really pitching very, very well, and I think too much analytics was into it. That's the problem with his analytics. People look at that and say, well, this is the third time they're going to see him pitch, and they have a better shot at hitting him. And I think the old analytics right there kind of took over. And I think some analytics is great, some is not. At this time, what he did wasn't good. So I blame the too much analytics on that call.
Yeah, he had 9 strikeouts going into before he was pulled. I know that the Rays held a 1-0 lead at the time. And you know what? In my opinion, when you're in a very important contest like he was, you got to ride this guy out. You really do. No, I forget, like you said, too much analytics, overthinking. And we had Mark Littell on the broadcast last night with Stuart Hack and I, and he said the same thing. You can't play patty cake baker's man, Rick, in the World Series. It's such a big stage. I guess when we're talking about it, you can either take it down Pedro Martinez territory when Grady Little opted to keep him in, or we can go down Kevin Cash territory, and darned if you do, darned if you don't. But nevertheless, the Tampa Bay Rays with a payroll of $28 million with it being prorated in the David and Goliath series. And, I give the Rays credit for getting there, and I guess you and I are still thrilled they got there because they kept the Houston Astros out of there.
Absolutely. I was glad, nobody wanted to see the Astros, and the Astros, I mean, they got off so light. I mean, their punishment was shame and embarrassment. Yeah, whatever, Rob Manfred. And they got Carlos Big Mouth Correa going around and saying, nobody wants to see us here, and we're here. Too bad. Get over it. That kind of attitude. And, they weren't even 500. So I didn't want to see a team with a record under 500 in the World Series. And, the Astros are cheaters, and that's all they'll be remembered for. And I'm happy to see the Rays But I grew up in Los Angeles, and it's been a long, long time since the LA Dodgers have won the World Series, and they finally got it off the back. I don't have to call them the Buffalo Bills of Major League Baseball no more.
That's a fair assessment. So let's talk about Dave Roberts for a moment, all right? Second black manager ever to win the World Series, first Asian. It's only fitting that he was able to not only win it, but with an organization for which Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. And during 2020, when you're clinging to just anything to go right, at least the Dodgers were able to have an African-American coach slash manager win it all to keep the legacy of Jackie Robinson alive.
Yeah, it was a great victory. Congrats to Dave Roberts. I have been very, very harsh on him the last 3 years. I said, last year I thought they need to get rid of him. How in the world you can blow a 21.5 game lead, have the best record in Major League Baseball, and you lose in the first round like that? But I tip my hat off to him and to the Dodgers. They stuck with him, and it was the right move to do. I've been, saying I would love to see Mike Scioscia as a Dodger, as a manager. Maybe one day he will, but not right now. Dave Roberts is the man right now, and he did a great job. And congrats to him. Congrats to the Dodgers. And, people are going to say, well, it was a short – it don't matter if it's a short season, whether they played 162 games or 2 games. They're World Series champions. And I'm happy for Dave Roberts and the Dodgers to finally get that monkey off their back.
Well, call it whatever season you want. The bottom line is the playoffs are a grind in its own respect. And every league had to deal with a condensed season and a heavy-duty postseason. So, the Dodgers, without a doubt, earned it. Let's talk about the World Series TV ratings. The average drops 32% below for the 6 games. Previous low was 5.2 rating and 12 share. 9,785,000 is what you pulled in for this one, according to the Nielsen Media Research. The previous low was 7.6 rating, 12 share, 12,660,000 over 4 games. That was the 2012 World Series between the San Francisco Giants when they swept the Tigers 4-0. So I'll put it in context, okay, what you feel that these ratings really meant, and for the large sake, we also realize that Tampa Bay versus Detroit, you're not talking as big a market, but put in the perspective what these numbers really mean.
Well, we're going through a pandemic. That's one thing. It's a shortened season. Tampa Bay is a great team, but I think people really had the heartfelt to see the Dodgers and Yankees. You saw a David and Goliath team. You saw a team that a lot of people didn't really see Tampa Bay winning. They wanted to see Tampa Bay win, but I think in their heart of hearts, they knew that, the Dodgers were the best team. They were rolling. I think they were waiting for them to choke again like they've been doing the last 3 years, but they didn't this time. But, we're going through a historic pandemic right now, and right now people's minds is not on sports. The NBA's ratings were low as well, and right now people are out of work. People are struggling right now, and it's great to see sports. It was just a little different. The season was shortened. I think people kind of just, there's so much going on right now in the world right now, and people trying to, be at work, and, a lot of people are staying home. So I'm not really surprised that the ratings were low, and I think Tampa Bay, as great as a team as they are, people are not really clamoring to see them.
Yeah, no, that's true. The Tampa Bay Rays are an organization that they do things the right way, the way they develop their players, the way they keep a moderately low payroll, and they just find a way to win, but they're not winning in the TV business, that's for sure. I'm sure that they were certainly looking for, everybody wanted the Yankees and the Dodgers in this series, but the Tampa Bay Rays had other ideas, and they earned their way there. All right, let's talk about some managerial news today, Rick. Tony La Russa, 76 years of age, hired as a White Sox manager, third on the all-time list with wins, 2,728 wins. He fulfills that. If he's able to stay there, 3,000 wins within striking distance. And he has a pretty good White Sox team that I think is on the threshold of probably winning. What are your thoughts about the hire of Tony La Russa?
Baffled. When I first saw it, I was like, is this a joke? And I'm like, he's 70-some years old. He has nothing to prove. He's he's going to the Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest managers ever. He and Sparky Anderson, only 2 managers to win a World Series in both leagues. I was very surprised by this, but he's a great manager. We'll see what he does. He needed a big name. He's a big name, but I'm kind of this is like a short-term solution. So I mean, I think for the White Sox, it's either win a World Series or don't win a World Series. So I'm quite surprised and baffled by this decision.
Yeah, Rick, it comes across to me as a win now situation. It really is. What do you expect to get out of a 76-year-old? But then again, I guess it's only fitting in 2020 that we have two presidential candidates in their late 70s vying for the big office anyhow. So I guess Tony La Russa landing with Chicago. Bear in mind, though, he started his career with the Chicago White Sox before he went on to the Oakland A's as well as the Cardinals. So I think he feels in some respect, Rick, that he has unfinished business to take care of in the Windy City. And, as long as he's got the managerial juices and he hires a good coaching staff is what he needs, that acclimates to a degree of analytics. Because while I feel that, Rick, a degree of analytics, you still have to manage with your gut. And I think
Exactly.
nowadays a lot of managers lose sight of that. But, if he brings in some analytics guys to comply, he won't have any problem with earning any credibility in the clubhouse or in the organization because of his winning pedigree for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the greatest managers of all time. He hasn't managed in quite a while, but I mean, they wanted a big name. They got a big name. I'm like I said, I'm kind of surprised by this, but I guess the White Sox see themselves it has to be a win now situation. He's 76 years old. So, I mean, I just don't see the White Sox as being like a major team, a contender for the World Series. That's just me.
Evidently, they seem to think that they are, though. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the hire. I don't know. They could prove us both wrong, just like Dave Roberts ultimately got over the hill. We don't know. But if they feel that's the best hire, there are a lot of good names out there. But the question is where they think mindset that they're at. If they think they're that close with any of the La Russa's your guy. And evidently, that seems to be the mindset in the Windy City. All right, let's go on to the National Football League. Aaron Rodgers absolutely feels it would be crazy to put Minnesota Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer on the hot seat. You know what? Aaron is dead on here. He really is. It's not Mike Zimmer's fault that Stephon Diggs got shipped to Buffalo. It's not his fault that Kevin Stefanski decided to take on a head coaching job for the Cleveland Browns. And it's not his fault, for the most part, that Kirk Cousins isn't performing to the level of his contract. So what's your position on Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if they do move on from Zimmer, I'll be really quite surprised. I mean, I think they'll give him another season. Yeah, Cousins struggled, and Stefanski's doing a really good job with Cleveland. I think that's what's hurt them this season. They are a disappointment this season. I think people expected a lot more, but I don't see him in the hot seat this year. I don't see him as a Gase or anyone else who's most likely going to be gone. I think they'll give him one more season, and if they do struggle next season, they'll probably go a different direction. But I'm with Aaron here. I wouldn't pull the plug on Zimmer quite yet.
Yeah, no, I'm with you all the way. I think right now the guy's had a tough season. He's done some pretty good work in Minnesota, so you can use the patience card there. So let's talk about the Thursday night matchup, Carolina Panthers in your backyard. Obviously, they won't activate Christian McCaffrey tonight for Thursday night football. Some thoughts about the move?
Yeah, I mean, they just want to play it safe. He's their franchise player. He's arguably the best running back right now in the NFL. They just want to play it safe. They don't want to get their guy injured, especially during a COVID-19 year. So, I mean, and right now the Panthers, they've struggled, but no one expected them to. Everyone thought they'd be like the Jets, 0-5, 0-6. I know a lot of people here in North Carolina were actually kind of not. They didn't mind that they have the worst record because they wanted to get Trevor Lawrence here. So, but they have been a surprise. Rule's doing a great job, and I love Bridgewater. Finally the Panthers have a pocket quarterback, but he also can run too. He's very deceiving in running. A lot of people don't see that with Bridgewater. So I think it's a good move by the Panthers. They just want to make sure that their star player is 100%, and like why rush it?
Yeah, I know they're playing the Atlanta Falcons tonight, if I serve correctly. So have the Atlanta Falcons had enough time to get over that last 1 minute debacle that cost them a game against the Detroit Lions? We're not going to have to predict the football game, but I think the Atlanta Falcons of all times are probably glad that this game was 3 or 4 days away from what transpired in Georgia.
Well, they haven't gotten over the Super Bowl debacle. I mean,
Right. So,
ever since that happened, Flynn, I mean, Dan Quinn he was never the same after that. Neither was the Falcons. So they haven't even gotten over the Super Bowl. So have they gotten over this? You would think they would, but honestly, I don't think so.
yeah, the Atlanta Falcons are making a good living inventing ways to lose football games, and the Detroit Lions were beneficiaries of it. And therefore, Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn are staring at a 3-3 record, which kind of eases things a little. I still think they're on the hot seat, but it became a little bit warmer after being at the 500 plateau. We're going to get to them in a moment. One other college football note: Nebraska is disappointed the Big Ten didn't approve a non-conference game. I think they wanted to play that against Tennessee, but that wouldn't matter if they were playing it against Holy Cross. They're thinking, holy cow, especially since the Wisconsin game was canceled. Let me ask you, Rick, are the Nebraska Cornhuskers more trouble than they're worth in the Big Ten?
Well, I mean, Tom Osborne is not coming back. This
Right.
is not the Nebraska Cornhuskers I mean, when I was watching, they were like Alabama. They were always in the championships. Tom Osborne, one of the greatest head coaches of all time, won 3 of them. And Scott Frost. I love Scott Frost. I think getting him was a great hire. I think he's one of the best young coaches to come out of college football. But I mean, Nebraska is just not a big name team right now. They've been on the downside for quite some time. And, maybe if they were like more competitive or something like that, maybe. But yeah, I think they're more trouble than anything else.
Yeah, I think they're a headache for the Big Ten. Remember when the Big Ten decided they weren't going to play at all this fall, Nebraska said, well, maybe we can play outside the conference, go somewhere else. And Kevin Warren said, no, you're not. You want to keep collecting the money that we're going to pay you. You just sit there and be like the rest of us and stick it out until we weather it. And all of a sudden, this little distraction out of Lincoln to me is just another thing where, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, when they came to the Big Ten, didn't realize how good weekly competition is. Just because you had the Oklahoma Sooners, and that's pre-Texas, by the way, until Texas came in, okay? It's not like you're beating up on Iowa State, Kansas, and Kansas State all the time, where the only meaningful game you have is the last 2 games of the year. And then, of course, when they ended up getting good competition, such as the Miami Hurricanes, they weren't able to pull it out. But I think really Nebraska is more trouble than they're worth. And I have no problem with what happened last Saturday when Ohio State put a 52 spot on and they whipped Nebraska, even as they had a reserve quarterback. That doesn't matter. Nebraska, to me, they're more trouble than they're worth.
Yeah, they've been on the downside. It's sad to see Nebraska like that. I love when they were a powerhouse, and maybe they'll get back to that, but not right now. And like I said, Nebraska is not really when you think about college football, you don't think of Nebraska. You think of Clemson, Alabama. I mean, look at Notre Dame. They're a great team. So, and they're a historic team. So yeah, Nebraska right now. A lot of people are not. They're not on their wish list for a team to win it all.
Yeah, I often wonder how relevant they are in the Big Ten. What I mean by that is, like I just alluded to moments ago, when they were in the Big 12, Big 8, or whatever it was at the time when they were playing, again, they were one of the top teams. But they ended up going into the Big Ten because they needed to strengthen their basketball program. And with the money that they brought in with the Big Ten, they've been able to upgrade their facilities tremendously with the revenue you have with the Big Ten network. So, I think they're acting like a petulant child is what they are. And they just have to sit there and just deal with it like everybody else on the planet. All right. So let's talk about some key games tonight. Indianapolis Colts 4-2, Detroit Lions 3-3. Pretty interesting contest. Give me some predictions and give me an explanation as to why you're going that route.
Who was it again? I'm sorry.
Indianapolis at Detroit. Colts at the Lions.
That's a toss-up game for me. I like, the Lions are playing much better now and they're at home. So I'm going to go with the Lions on this one. I still think Matt Patricia's gone this season, especially now with new ownership. But I like what they're doing. They seem to be on a roll, and maybe they'll keep his job next season. I don't think so, but maybe they will. But I don't have this as a high-scoring game. I have this 21-16, Detroit.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with the Lions, too. Jonathan Taylor is the only real threat I think the Colts have running-wise. The question is how many interceptions will Phillip Rivers throw, and if the Lions can put any kind of a pass rush on them. I know they made a trade this week to bolster their pass rush. We'll see how that turns out with the Dallas Cowboys for conditional pick. Detroit 24, Indianapolis 17. I'm going to go with the Lions to try to. Now, ironically, the Lions are 3-0 on the road. I remember when I saw them play in Charlotte on a couple of occasions. They were breaking road losing streaks over in your backyard at Bank of America Stadium. So they're right now the Lions, I believe, are 0-3 on the road and 0-3 at home and 3-3 on the road. But Detroit should pick up their first win this time. I expect Matthew Stafford to do well. T.J. Hawkinson has become a real good weapon. Kenny Golladay is starting to play well for him. DeAndre Swift is looking all right, and Adrian Peterson is doing fine. So the Lions look like they're more in sync. Green Bay, Minnesota, the game we just spoke about. Hard to believe at this point, Rick. Minnesota is 1-5 and Green Bay is 5-1, but that's exactly where we are in the standings right now.
Yeah, I have Green Bay in this. I think they're going to really play a good game this year. They were really embarrassed in their last game against Tampa Bay. I mean, I had Green Bay, and I was surprised that they lost so badly. But the Vikings have been struggling this season. They've been one of the biggest disappointments of the NFL, in my opinion. And even though they are playing at home, I like Green Bay in this. I expect Aaron Rodgers to have a big game. And I have this game like 38-21. I think it'll be a rout.
Yeah, the game is in Green Bay. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, Green Bay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
It's
even better.
Yeah. So repeat your score again.
38-21 Green Bay.
Yeah, well, you're a lot nicer than I am. I'm looking at the Packers blowing out the Vikings 38-10. It's going to get ugly for Minnesota, but I still, I still hope Mike Zimmer. He'll be fine. It's just a tough year, but you just can't give away weapons and expect to be relevant. You really can't. All right, obviously one of the big games of the week, Pittsburgh Steelers 6-0 against Baltimore 5-1. Boy, this is a dandy, Rick.
I love Pittsburgh. I think right now they're the best team in the NFL right now. I mean, probably Kansas City, the defending champions, has something to say about that. But right now they're all running on all cylinders. Mike Tomlin is one of the most unappreciated, underrated coaches in the NFL. Even Steeler fans, I scratch my head every time they say they're not big fans of him. I would love to have Mike Tomlin here with the Panthers, or I think any organization would love to have Mike Tomlin as their head coach. And I think this is his best coaching season. I mean, you lose Antonio Brown, and you lose those two knuckleheads, who are really great. And I think having those two knuckleheads gone, I think all that drama's gone. A lot of people didn't expect much from them. Roethlisberger looks great. When he's healthy, he's great.
Right.
And Tomlin's just playing really good. And I really like. I don't even think this is gonna be close. I have Pittsburgh winning this 24-10. I'm not really convinced with. I'm not convinced with the Ravens right now, and I think they're a good team, but I don't think they're that top echelon team yet.
Yeah, I'll give the Steelers a win, but I'm going to go 28-21.
Sound good.
All right, Las Vegas Raiders against the Cleveland Browns. Hard to get me. Still having a hard time with Las Vegas Raiders, Rick. But they're going to be playing in Cleveland, all right, off of Lake Erie. 3-3 for the Raiders. Cleveland 5-2. How do you size this one up?
I am not convinced with Cleveland. I'm sorry. Everyone is like, wow, look at how good Cleveland is. Well, they were good one year when they went 4-1, and they didn't play very well. I know Beckham's out for the season now, which I think is probably good for them because he's such a headache and it's such a distraction, and they've been trying to trade him during this season. So I like Las Vegas in this. I'm just still not convinced with the Browns yet. I'm still not convinced that Baker Mayfield is their best quarterback, and if he continues to struggle, you're going to hear those, get rid of Baker Mayfield chants, which are probably already still going on in Cleveland. So I like Las Vegas in this. I think a change, I think location is the key for them. I think moving to Las Vegas has been great. No more distractions. They have one of the best stadiums in all of the NFL. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous stadium in Las Vegas. And I used to live there, and it's kind of cool to see a professional football team there. So I have like Las Vegas winning this like 27-17. And I'm just not convinced with Cleveland. I don't think I'm ever going to be convinced with Cleveland. They can go 15-0, and I'm still not going to be convinced by them.
Well, you know what? I'll just differ with you on this one. I'll go Cleveland 24-17, so we have something to talk about next week. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
Yeah, it will be interesting. We'll like to keep it a little bit interesting. We can't agree on everything, but why not give them 24-17? Albeit, even though Odell Beckham Jr. is gone, I have a feeling Baker Mayfield will have his fair share of targets. I think the key for Cleveland is they have to muster up a good running attack. Now, I think the game that I'm really most intrigued about, Rick, is the Rams against the Miami Dolphins. Rams going to the game 5-2. Jared Goff against Tua Tagovailoa, making his debut in Miami. I don't know about you, Rick. I have a very weird feeling about this, but I'll let you start it off first.
Well, the Rams, they're like a head scratcher. They'll look good one night, and then another night they lay an egg. And I'm still not convinced with Goff. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback at all. Tua, I've come on the show and said I'm just not really a big Tua fan. I think he's just a little too small, and I think he's a little too injury prone. That's just my opinion. But I think what makes him dynamic is his running, and I think Tua's going to have a big game. I think they're going to beat the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams have. I don't know if it's that Super Bowl hangover, but ever since a team loses the Super Bowl, they just can't get it together. The Panthers were a 500 team. We all know about the problems with the Falcons, and the Rams have just been so inconsistent ever since they lost to the Patriots. So I think Tua's going to have a big game. I really do. And I have it like 21-14 Dolphins. I think it'll be an interesting game, but I think Tua will do really well in this game.
Yeah, I'm going with Miami too, but 24-16. I really do. I have a feeling about this one that Tua's going to come out, and his mobility is the difference. And I think a lot of people here in South Florida are definitely anxious to see him out there. And when you look at the fact that Justin Herbert's doing well with the Chargers despite the losing record, and I think this quarterback class so far looks like it's pretty good. It really does. So
I really like Herbert a lot. A lot of people were kind of like, rolling the dice. He could be great or he could be a flop. I think he's a great quarterback. I saw him play when he was with the Oregon, and I think that was a great pick for the LA Chargers. I keep calling the San Diego Chargers the LA Chargers. So I really do like Herbert a lot.
Okay, we got 3 more games to address. One of them's at Soldier Field featuring the Chicago Bears, a place I've been to all too many times, even when they didn't have the capsule around that historic facility. But New Orleans, Drew Brees against the Bears, 5-2, Nick Foles. Who do you got?
Well, this is a good game. This is a tough game. Chicago, struggled last game, and there's been some dissension with Foles and things like that. I think they had a bad game, but it's in Chicago right now, and it's very, very cold, and I think that benefits them since the Saints play in the Dome and in a very tropical city. But I really do like the Chicago in this game. I think it's going to be like 24-21. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I think Foles is going to have a big game, and I like it that they're in Chicago.
Yeah, well, I've covered games when the Lions played the Bears. I've covered them when the weather's nice, and I've covered them when it's cold by Lake Michigan. Let me tell you, Rick, there's nothing like being able to sit up in that press box and the Bears wait on your hand and feet with the food. But I'll tell you, they couldn't save you when you got on the field. And I had 3 pairs of socks on, a pair of thermal underwear, and a pair of hiking boots. So, and I know when that wind whips, your hands are numb. With that said, okay, the New Orleans Saints will be numb with a Chicago 21-17 win. 2 more games to go. San Francisco 49ers against Seattle Seahawks up in Seattle. The only thing we probably guarantee for the most part is usually raining. Who you got?
Well, Seattle, that was a stunner when when they lost there. That was unexpected. I didn't see that happening. I like Seattle. To me, Russell Wilson's the MVP of the NFL right now, and I think Seattle's going to redeem themselves. San Francisco, I think they're a great team, but I don't know if they're that top echelon team yet. I think they're sort of like Green Bay and Baltimore, where I think they can beat like the really good, like the bad teams, but when they play the really good teams, they seem to struggle. So I love Russell Wilson. I can go Russell Wilson all day. I think it'll be 27-17 Seattle.
Yeah, I got a 10-point Seahawk win as well. I was looking at 34-24. I think the 49ers will still score some points, but Seattle, they don't hesitate to put a 30 spot. Even when they lost to the Cardinals, they'll put up 34 points. So, last game of the night, Dallas Cowboys 2-5 against Philadelphia 2-4-1. Ben DiNucci, the seventh-round quarterback for the Cowboys, now takes over for Andy Dalton, unless Andy Dalton somehow works his way out of concussion protocol and steps on the field. If I were the Cowboys, I wouldn't play him. But either way, this is what you have for Sunday night football.
Man, what a disappointment. I know when they put this game on paper, it's like, ooh, this is going to be a good game, and it's going to be the worst game. And the Cowboys are just a massive, massive mess. You know, they really are. You know, you got players speaking out and not happy with the coaching staff, which I think is very cowardly. At least put your name on it and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I can't stand my head coach. Get me out of here. So there's a lot of dissension, a lot of bickering, a lot of no trust. And the Cowboys defense, you know, they're talking about their offense so much. Their defense is horrid. It is just, it's terrible. And so, and Cleveland and Philadelphia, you know, they're probably going to win that division with 4 or 5 wins. It's that bad of a division. So I like the Eagles in this game, and I think it'll be like 31-17. I think the Cowboys are just an absolute horrendous train wreck of a mess this season.
Well, you're really nice to the Cowboys because I'm not going to do that. 35-3, the Eagles are going to blast them. You know, think about it. The Washington football team hammered them. What do you think the Eagles are going to do? And I think the Eagles are going to run away with that division. I really do. So,
yeah.
I wouldn't sell the Eagles short. I think that they can win it. I don't think they'll be a sub-500 team because they'll be playing each other. They'll muster up enough wins to get to the playoffs. How far they go, anybody gets. So, I'll give the Eagles 35-3. So, any closing thoughts about the week in sports?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Any closing thoughts about the week in sports that stand out in your mind?
I think the Dodgers finally winning the World Series. I think now that the Lakers have won it, now the Dodgers have won it. It's the first time that both teams from the same cities have won it since I think it was 2018, 2019 Red Sox and the Patriots. They won it the same year. So congratulations to the Dodgers. Congrats to the Lakers. Tampa Bay, you know, hey, you won the Stanley Cup and you were in the World Series. And Tampa Bay, they're looking really, really good right now. I wrote off Tom Brady and said I think Father Time has caught up with him. He must have been listening to me because he's been playing just terrific.
Yeah, he throttled the Raiders, that's for sure, and Tom Brady. And, you know, if you can imagine, if Antonio Brown stays out of trouble and he becomes a good weapon, the Buccaneers can be dangerous. So one other thing I just came to my mind, they're talking about putting maxing the Super Bowl to 20% capacity. I was joking around with Steve Ballesteri on the broadcast last night that reminds me of the Canadian Football League here, with the capacity being is 20% capacity for Super Bowls, 100% capacity for the Canadian Football League. I'm picking on our friends north of the border. So what?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not sold on having fans in there. It's just too risky, you know, especially with players coming down with COVID, you know, and you know, it's just too risky for me. That's just my opinion. Even if you separate them, that's still a lot of people. And I don't think a lot of people are going to be wearing their masks, you know, and they're not in my neighborhood. So it's tricky, but just to be on the safe side, I'm just not sold on having fans at the games right now. I kind of like the piped in music. I like the piped in fan noise.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, Major League Baseball lost $3.1 billion, but as we talked about last night on the Sports Exchange with Mark Littell, the $3.1 billion is a fraction of what it could have been had they have not played the season at all, and the public relations debacle that would have ensued based on the 1994 strike. So I think the players, the owners, everybody deserves kudos to them for at least putting together a season, surviving the outbreak, and making sure we had a champion in 2020. So my tip of the cap to Major League Baseball and the players for at least getting it done. We have 3 champions right now, and hats off to all of them. You had the Lakers winning it, the Lightning, and of course the Dodgers, and we have another one to go with the NFL later on as time goes on. Sorry, Rick, why don't you let everybody know where you stand for? You're going to give the COVID message, and then I'll wrap up the broadcast. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, right now, you know, everyone needs to really hunker down. The doctors and scientists have been saying this, that you think the summer was bad, wait till the winter comes when this COVID virus is even stronger, and we're seeing what's going to happen. And it's gotten worse here in North Carolina. It's getting worse everywhere else. Wear masks. Please stay away from large crowds. You got knuckleheads out there still thinking that it's not going to affect me when you have athletes going on and getting it. And just stop acting stupid. Like Cuomo said, stop acting stupid. I don't know what else I can say. Just wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, stay away from crowds. Just use some common sense. And I know it sucks, but you know what? Whatever you had planned this year, like I had, you can do it next season. It's just not worth it. It really isn't. And just use some common sense.
You should, and I also want to make sure everybody goes out there and exercises their right to vote. We have an upcoming election next Tuesday. Of course, you'll be on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk on Monday night with Dave Hodges. We do that every Monday night. But everybody go out there and exercise your vote. This is undoubtedly the most important election in our country's history, and every vote does count. Okay, Rick, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. I should point out before you start, Rick Curti does a wonderful, wonderful job promoting the South Florida Tribune on social media, making sure that our content gets out to everybody. And we appreciate your work and all the contributions that you make. Take it away, Rick.
My website where you can contact me at is www.charlottebats.com. My email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB and Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball, and I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, and I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and you can contact me on any of those social media websites.
Very good. And in terms of you are watching and listening to Sports Exchange, my name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Madmouth, along with Rick Curti. Rick, obviously, a very valuable part of our organization. You want to follow us on social media, but we give you plenty of ways to do it. You can follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. That's at Tribune South. Facebook and Instagram, South Florida Tribune. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. I'll give you 6 reasons why you should. Sports Exchange, No Limits, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, Real and the Rare, Fantasy Football, South Florida Tribune Podcast. We have a podcast that suits everybody else's needs. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. We have the Motor City Monitor on there, which covers a lot of Michigan events, sports and non-sports related. We have our media distribution partners on there. We also have regular columnists, and all of our broadcasts are on the website. And don't lose sight of the fact that we have weather and national news and other national sports on there as well. So it's a very well orchestrated website. My wife, Candy Morgan-Roth-Ebling, does a wonderful job putting this thing together, and she's also our host on No Limits. So my kudos to Candy. She does a marvelous job keeping it all together, and as well as handling the production of these broadcasts. You can go ahead and email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Scott Morganroth. This broadcast can also be heard audio-wise on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get a podcast. So I'll go over it again. Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. So following the Sports Exchange tonight, we have fantasy football with myself and Ryan Stolrud. We get you ready for this week's action. So, Rick, we have a lot of work ahead of us on Monday. But meanwhile, I'll be over covering the Florida Atlantic University Owls against the University of Texas San Antonio, providing COVID doesn't give us any unexpected surprises. Candy Eveling will be taking the photos as well. So I love the way Katrina McCormick and her staff has it. They stick me in the corner of a certain press box. So if I want to scream at the walls and yell at them, they won't listen to me anyway. So that's okay. I don't need to social distance with a drywall. So with all due respect, looking forward to the Owls in Texas San Antonio over the weekend. And you and I have some more work to do on Monday night. Any final thoughts, Rick, before we go?
Well, I just want to piggyback with what you said about voting. This is probably the most important times to vote right now. Right now, our country, we're very divisive right now. And, you have the power to make changes. And so my thing is that if you don't vote, you can't complain. So everybody's voting at a record pace right now. We've never seen anything like this. If you're not happy with the direction our country's going or anything like that, you have the right to vote. You have the right to get rid of people who you don't like. Just vote. It takes very, very short period of time. Even though some of them are long lines, they go by super fast. But you know what? just vote, because if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Yeah, Candy and I had a great time on Sunday. We voted early on Sunday after the 1 o'clock game, so we only had one person in line. I'll tell you what. Well, we cruised, but we were glad we took care of it and glad to get it over with. I can only imagine what the crowd's going to be like this week and next week. So, meanwhile, Rick, you did a phenomenal job. Folks, we look forward to seeing you on the next edition of the Sports Exchange. There will be times where Rick and I do this alone, and I have no problem, because it's always good to be able to entertain you and inform you. And I couldn't be happier than who I have here alongside of me tonight. Rick Curti, wonderful job tonight. And we'll catch you on Monday night for 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. So on behalf of Rick Curti, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Badmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. Good night, and everybody have a good weekend. Be safe.